So let's move on to um, things around you know, America's vision for the future. So one of the things that I believe needs to happen over the next, decade or so is a rekindling of patriotism in America. There, unfortunately, is a generation of Americans who have lost sight of, the important role that America plays. And the thing that bothers me the most is that if America falls, where do you go? Like, do we go to China to follow
I
our
lived in China.
dreams? Like,
I lived
where
in
do you
China.
go? And
Never.
and so in order to maintain that, it's almost imperative on this country to rekindle American patriotism, which I feel is at an all-time low, especially among the youth. So how do you think that we, people like us, or even as a country, how do you think we can begin to rekindle American patriotism?
This one's a hard one. Patriotism is a mix of the actions done by a country that people should agree with. But unfortunately, I would say this, also partially propaganda. This is very hard to say. Like, if you want patriotism, you need propaganda, meaning instilling this on a daily basis, whether directly or indirectly. And I know it's something very bad to say, but then you gotta back the propaganda with actual facts. So you need a government that makes decisions that are actually for the citizens. And since America represents the forefront of Western society, also for the international, let's say, Western society. It has to be a mix of the two. Because if you have, let's say, I call it propaganda. It can even be like simply the Pledge of Allegiance at the front of the school with the flag and everything. Okay. If you have that, but it's not backed by good actions of the government, good actions of the people, then you create even a wholly different system where people are confused, which I believe is what is happening now. Because, I mean, you still have the flags everywhere. I believe that from a patriotism perspective, America and the Western society is still the most patriotic. But if you see the action of the governments today, also the back and forth between the two sides, you're like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing here? So it has to be a mix of the two. Yes, instilling sense use is important, but you need to have a strong decision maker on top of
I
and
love that.
good team.
Yeah, I love that so much. Talking about the two sides, right? Um, I know propaganda has a little bit of a negative connotation, as you said, but the way I look at it is I will put a positive spin on it, which is you need good PR, right? You
Yeah,
need
yeah.
good public
Propaganda is
relations.
exactly that.
Exactly. You need good PR, and you need to
Marketing.
still that exactly everything needs to be marketed. And so I think it is important to market America properly. And one of the ways I describe myself is I say I am a cheerleader for America, right? I
You're
recognize
a
shortcomings.
propagandist.
I recognize our
Me working
shortcomings as a
marketing for
country.
Lamborghini. I was making propaganda for Lamborghini. It's the
Exactly.
same thing.
Exactly. It's marketing. Yes, but I love the fact that you said that you can't live on PR. You
No.
actually have to deliver, you actually have to deliver value to the people you're marketing to. Because otherwise, it doesn't take very long for people to see that your marketing is hollow. And when
Yes.
people see that your marketing is hollow, it actually is worse than people who didn't see any marketing at all, right? It's one thing to say, hey, imagine that you bought your Lamborghini and after you paid all that money for it, you got it and it broke down in
Yes.
6 months, right?
Yes.
You will hate the company more than if you didn't get any of the marketing. right?
Yes.
And
Kind of
that's
like Build Back Better.
exactly. So one thing that I think is a problem is the fact that we have, I think, our country has gotten to a point where the voting, the votes that people cast is usually detached from the policies of the people that they're voting for. Because we have made politics so emotional that people are not connecting the fact that if I vote for this person, these are the policies they're going to enact, and these policies are not going to be beneficial. Even though they may sound good, they're not going to be beneficial in the long run. And so, what the politicians have done is they have separated their policies for the most part from the decision about voting. So you see a lot of people who you say to them, hey, who are you voting for? I will never vote for this side. I will never vote for this side. And then when you remove the sides and you just talk strictly about policy, you find that most of those people are supporting the policy of one party, for instance, but they would never consider voting for that party because the politicians and the media have done such a good job in connecting people emotionally to one side or the other so that facts about policy doesn't matter anymore. So when people go to the votes, they're going to vote for someone emotionally without thinking about the policy involved in that vote.
I agree 100%. You're talking to a guy that when in Italy, I voted left, I voted right, I voted center. Because when I was voting, I was looking at the agendas, I was looking at the execution history of the various teams, and by mixing the two, I would realize this has okay policies but good execution, good. This has amazing policies but shit executor, I don't like this. This has bad policies, good execution, but I don't like the policies. Fuck this, let me go with the first one. But people need to detach from the thing of left, right is bullshit. Read, look at the person, look at what they say, look at how much they follow what they say, um, and then vote based on that. And for example, let's take Trump aside. Let me look. Obama and Biden. Okay. Biden, super agenda, super fantastica. Zero. Obama, he wanted to do the Obamacare. He did it. Whether it wasn't perfect or not, he did it. Like some kind of execution was there. Some kind of negotiation skills also with the right was there, whether you like it or not. So I also look at this execution skills. And between Obama and I forgot who was the Republican
Bush.
guy. The second one, the second election, it wasn't Bush.
Oh, Romney.
Romney. So between Obama and Romney, I have to say, by analyzing, I would have rather gone with Obama. But if I had to observe Biden and Trump, it would have been Trump, especially with the past of Trump in terms of execution of what he said. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Um,
So the
and
way I
especially in alignment of who I am. Yes.
exactly the way I analyze this is, for me anyway, one of the tools that I use to kind of differentiate the sides is that one side appears to me to be the way they judge success is based on intentions. So, hey, our intentions are to help people. You know, we want to help the poor. We want to help the little guy. We want to, take the money from the rich and help the poor because our intentions are pure. And then I say, but what about the execution of those intentions, right? How is that changing people's lives? How is that making and moving people out of poverty? How is that actually helping the people you want to help? So, for instance, if you come to me and you say, hey, let's increase the minimum wage. Now, that sounds good. That sounds good. Let's move it to, $15, $20. That sounds good. But then I say, has it been tried before? And what happened when it was tried? And then you find when you look at the data that, yes, in the short term, it boosted people's pay. But then in the long term, what happened? There was less employment right? The people at the bottom who don't have a lot of skills, when you increase the minimum wage, you push them out of the economy because they don't have a lot of skills. And nobody's wanting to pay that higher wage for people with no skills. So the teenagers who want to work in the summer, the people who have just barely graduated, those are the people who suffer because you were trying to do something that sounded good, right? And and so on the other side is what I believe is realism and pragmatism, which is speaking
Yes,
the
it's a
truth to
mix.
people and telling people, look, it's going to be hard, you're going to struggle, but if you do work hard and you follow principles that take time, it's like planting a seed and expecting the fruit tomorrow. It's not going to work. No matter how you try, it takes time. You need to water it. You need to remove the weeds. You need to take time and effort to actually achieve something. And it is much easier to sell Santa Claus than it is to sell hard work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the challenge that I see is a lot of people selling Santa Claus. We will solve all your problems. We will spend this money and we will. I saw a video yesterday that was exactly a case in point. So in San Francisco, the government spent 5 years trying to design a new trash can, 5 years. And after 5 years, they spent $500,000
Did
trying
they
to
make it
create a
inclusive?
new trash can. And guess what happened this year? They have abandoned the project
Of
because
course,
they run out of money due
because it
to
wasn't
budget
inclusive
cuts.
enough.
Can you imagine five
Because it
years
was
to
because it
choose?
was an
And
insulting trash.
it is crazy, but sounds good. Things that sound good, but when executed, completely fails, right? So, for instance, you hear about what is happening with crime as well, where they said, okay, we don't want to target certain groups of people. And so we're going to increase the amount of stuff you have to steal before we actually put you in jail. And then
Crime
what
goes up.
happens? Sounds good. But then they implement that policy in 2014 in California. And now you have shoplifting to the point where stores are closing everywhere. Large stores that would normally be profitable are closing because of organized theft, right? So a lot of times people think about, oh, we had good intentions while making this law, but they never come back to judge the results. And even when the results are obviously a failure, then they go into the mode of we've spent all this money, we are already invested, so let's just keep kicking the can down the road, then radically
Okay.
coming back and saying we need to stop this policy, right? And so when I look at that, that's how I kind of gain my political identity is that one side does not promise to solve all your problems. And so they sound a little more callous. They sound like, I say when you're growing up and you see your friend and you go to his house and his mom allows him to do everything.
Everything.
And you feel like, man,
Yeah,
I have it so bad because I can't do this. I can't watch TV. I don't have a TV in my room. I can't do all this. And then
yeah,
you
but then
grow up.
when life starts, who's better off?
Exactly. And then you grow up and you see your friend and you say, oh, I now appreciate my parents.
Exactly.
Exactly.